So this will serve as the continuation of the last topic for socscie 12, which is the life, writings, and works of Dr. Jose Rizal. So as I've been instructed to you guys that suppose we will be having a virtual, but I realizes that just use this time for you to pay your finances in school. So that is the reason why I make a video presentation. So without further ado, let's start the topic, which is Rizal'S education. So Rizal'S education will be starting on his own birthplace, then followed by the study in Manila, and studies in Europe. So now let's start. So we've already know the information about our national heroes, but another for you to remember it. So Jose Protasio Rizal Mercado y Alonso Riolada would be the full name of our doctor, national hero, and of course the birthday of our national hero will be June 19, 1861. Birthplace, Calamba, Laguna. Baptismal date, June 22, 1861. And death anniversary would be December 30, 1869. So this is actually further information, or for you to remember information about our national hero. So basically, I've already discussed that in the lessons that we've already tackled. Okay, so now let's proceed. So let's start on the early education in Calamba and in Binan. Of course, Jose Rizal is the same with us, the same with other people, the same with other individual in the society. So at the age of 3, Jose Rizal learned the alphabet from his mother. So the first teacher of our national hero would be his mother. As we all know that Doña Teodora has a big part on molding the character of his son, which is Dr. Jose Rizal. So at the age of 5, while learning to read and write, Rizal already showed inclination to be an artist. He astounded his family and relatives by his pencil drawings and sketches and by his moldings of clay. Okay? So aside from being a good student, or aside from being a good in terms of academe, Jose Rizal also showed a inclination to be an artist, meaning to say he is also good in pertaining to an art. Okay? So that is Jose Rizal. Next, at the age of 8, Rizal wrote a Tagalog poem, Sa Aking Mga Kababata. So the theme of this poem would be on the love of one's language. So as we all know, Jose Rizal started writing his poem in the birthplace, or in the Calamba, Laguna. First poem of Dr. Jose Rizal pertaining on the description of his birthplace. So nasulat niya na yon. Then afterwards, this one, at the age of the 8, Jose Rizal Jose Rizal make again a poem which is entitled Sa Aking Mga Kababata. Okay? And the description of this poem is pertaining on the love of one's language. So I have an example for that. So this is actually the content of the poem. So basically, I will be giving you a task after the lesson for today about, of course, the different poems of Dr. Jose Rizal. So next, so early education in Calamba and Binan. So Rizal parents employed private tutors. So aside from being his mother to be a teacher, first teacher, of course, since the parents of Rizal belong in the principalias, and they can give their children the best way or qualification of pertaining to an academe, of course, they hired a tutor. So they gave a tutor to their son. So they employed private tutors to give him lessons at home. So the first was Maestro Celestino, and the second would be Maestro Lucas Padua. But later on, an old man named Leon Monroy, a former classmate of Rizal's father, become also his tutor. So the teacher lived at the Rizal's home, so it's like homeschooling, and instructed Rizal in Spanish, Latin. Unfortunately, he did not live long. So he died 5 months later. So that would be Mr. Leon Monroy. So basically, the subject that he been teaching to Rizal would be Spanish. Okay, so after Monroy's death, Rizal parents decided to send their gifted child to a private school in Binan. So this comes the time that already so again, this is the time that the parent of Rizal already decided that their child or Dr. Jose Rizal would be going na to school, to a private school in Benyan. Okay, so that was the first journey of our national hero in, or the journey will be gone now in the Binyan school. So these are the experience of Dr. Jose Rizal. So first day in Binyan school. Pasiano enrolled Rizal to school of Maestro Justiniano Aquino Cruz. So Rizal met a bully, of course. As I've said a while ago, Jose Rizal is the same. Experience of Jose Rizal is the same with us, the same with other individual, the same with other persons in the society. Kung ano yung nangyayari sa atin, kung ano nangyayari sa classroom, ay napagdaanan din ni Dr. Jose Rizal. The only differences is that Dr. Jose Rizal is the key for us to have the so-called independency. So Rizal met the bully named Pedro. Rizal, who was angry at this bully for making fun of him during his conversation with the teacher, challenged Pedro to a fight. Rizal, having learned the art of wrestling from his athletic Tio Manuel, defeated the bigger boy. So can you imagine? Rizal is not only good at the academe, but and also not only good in art, but also Rizal has extracurricular activities pertaining on how to defend yourself. Like for example, wrestling, even taekwondo, arm wrestling, marunong si Rizal. So, kaya naman, di naman natin masisi why a lot of women fall for his charm. Okay? So now, after class, a classmate named Andras Salandanan challenged him to an arm wrestling match. Rizal, having the weaker arm, lost and nearly cracked his head on the sidewalk. So, literally, even though Jose Rizal is good in arm wrestling, siguro in that time, Andras Salandanan has like for example, more experience than Rizal. So, basically, natalo si Rizal for that fight. And, malapit pa siya or it is nearly cracked his head on the sidewalk. So, basically, this kind of fight is not good talaga in a certain classroom management. So, you as a teacher would be the one to resolve the fight. Okay. So, but, as a teacher, hindi naman din namin hawak ang mga kung nasaan kayo. Like for example, after the class, I don't know kung nasaan na kayo. So basically, you will be the one to decide what you gonna do with that situation. Kung lalaban ba as a self-defense, or it's just make a simple communication for you to have the so-called maayos ang away na yon. Okay? So now let's proceed. Best student in school. So, in academic studies, Rizal beat all Binan boys. So, he surpassed them all in Spanish, Latin, and other subjects. So, that is the reason why Jose Rizal is the best student in school. Kasi, can you imagine? Rizal beat all the boys in the school, all the student in the school. And they were all jealous of his intellectual superiority, that they wickedly squealed to the teacher whenever Rizal had a fight outside the school. So, even told lies to discredit him before the teacher's eyes. Consequently, the teacher had to punish Rizal. So, with that, all of the jealousy meron nangyayari. Yun na yung pagtatraidor ng ibang estudyante kay Rizal. Kapag may away siya sa labas, sinusumbong agad without knowing na hindi nila alam kung saan nagsimula yung away. So, ang nangyayari, nabibigyan ng punishment si Rizal. Because of those boys na nagsiselos sa nararating ni Rizal sa journey niya sa school. So, that is very, very hard to, or dyan pumapasok yung not everyone would be easy to please. 'Di ba? Everyone is hard to please. Regardless with the differences, regardless with the different characteristic and attitude. So you will be the one to adjust. Dapat you know already how to adjust. In a simple situation, you know already what is right and wrong, or you can distinguish what is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do. So basically, in the result part, ang nangyari kasi what you call this, dahil sa pagsiselos ng kanyang mga classmate, ganun ang ginagawa nila kay Rizal. So he received many whippings and strokes from the ferule. Rare was the day when he was not stretched on the bench for a whipping or punished with 5 or 6 blows on the open palm. So, can you imagine? Even though without knowing without knowing the circumstances, without knowing the situation, binigyan kagad siya ng punishment. So, of course, that is the rule of a teacher, that first you have to know what will be or what happened in that situation. So in having or in being a best student has its own consequences. Yes, kasi sabi ko nga kanina na not everyone is easy to please, or not or everyone. So basically the point would be everyone is hard to please. So hindi mo talaga malaman that this person pala is having a grudge with what you've done in the school. So we cannot say everything. We cannot know everything, but basically, as a person, you have to adjust. You have to make yourself clear that you can distinguish the right and wrong. And basically, in the experience of Dr. Rizal, she did that one. Kasi bakit? Even though he did that one. Sorry with the she. He did that one. Why? Because even though all of the punishment na nangyayari sa kanya, tinatanggap niya lang yun. There is no such thing na sumasagot siya, tinatanggap niya. But yun yung mali. Dapat, if you know that you are in the right path, you have to give your explanation, but in a good way. Lalo na kapag ang kausap teacher, lalo na kapag ang kausap ay nakakatanda sa inyo. Mag-explain ng maayos. Yun yung dapat na gawin. So that is the journey of Dr. Rizal, why he coined as the best student in school. So now let's proceed to the education of our national hero pertaining on the place Manila. So it started with Ateneo Municipal de Manila, Bachelor of Arts degree in 1877 at the age of 16. Graduated as one of the 9 students declared sobresaliente. Okay, what do you mean by sobresaliente? When we say sobresaliente, it is particularly on the Oxford languages, and it defined as outstanding student. Okay, an outstanding, one of the 9 students declared to be outstanding, and that is our national hero, which is Dr. Rizal. Continued his education to obtain a degree in land surveying and assessor. So that was the journey of Dr. Rizal pertaining on the place Manila and pertaining to the school Ateneo Municipal de Manila. Okay? So with that, of course, there are a lot of experiences pa din in that university. So Rizal was a member of the Academy of Spanish Literature and the Academy of Natural Sciences. So aside from the Academy of Spanish Literature, Jose Rizal also a member in the Academy of Natural Sciences. So as we all know, that Rizal is very good in communication. So it is, he is multilingual. She can speak every languages. So one of his good pertaining on the communication is the Spanish literature, or in the era of communicating in Spanish. Okay? So he wrote his first poem in Mi Primera Inspiración, or my first inspiration, which was dedicated to his mother on her birthday. So he also wrote True Education, or Our Motherland Receives Light, and the intimate alliance between religion and good education which showed the importance of religion in the education. So as you can see, in the Ateneo Municipal de Manila, or in that university, Jose Rizal began to create a lot of novels or a lot of poems. So in that journey, hindi lang siya magaling in terms of his academic aspect, in terms of arts, but also he is now starting to create his his, like for example, in the literature part, he is now starting to create his own novels and his own poem. Okay. Even though pa man na hindi siya nasa university, even though he started in the birthplace already, sa Calamba, Laguna, start na siya to create his own poem. Okay? So that was the journey. Next, so this is actually the content of the poem Mi Primera Inspiración, or My First Inspiration, which is he dedicated it to his beloved mother. Okay? So now, education in Manila. So, aside from Ateneo de Municipal, we also have University of Santo Tomas. So, in the University of Santo Tomas, he studied philosophy and letters during his first year. Shifted to medicine, specializing in ophthalmology when he found out that his mother was going blind. So, that is basically the reason of Dr. Jose Rizal, why he chooses or he shifted into medicine to help her sick mom. Kasi in that time, he found out that his mother was going to blind, and that's why he he shifted to medicine and enrolled in the specialization which is called ophthalmology, or yung mga doktor sa mata. Okay? Let's proceed. So, in the University of the Santo Tomas, Rizal was unhappy at this Dominican institution of higher learning because there are three reasons. Why? First, the Dominican professor was hostile to him. When we say hostile, meaning to say all of the professor is unfriendly to Rizal or oppose of what Rizal want to do, or the ideas or thoughts of Jose Rizal in that time in the Santo Tomas, ino-oppose ng mga teachers niya, ng mga professors niya, ng mga Dominican professors niya. And even in that way, they are not easy to deal with in that time. So that's why Jose Rizal said that he is very unhappy. Okay? The Filipino students were racially discriminated against by the Spaniards. So that's it. That is another reason. Kasi he as a Filipino, kasali siya doon sa student na nade-discriminate. Kasi in the University of Santo Tomas is not only a Filipino student that's being enrolled, but also a Spanish or Spaniards student. So in that time, all of the Spaniards will always bully the Filipino student, or will always be discriminated with the Filipino student. So, Rizal as a Filipino student, nasasaktan siya. And that is one of the reason why he is unhappy in staying in University of Santo Tomas. Third one, the method of instruction was obsolete and repressive. So, when we say obsolete, so meaning obsolete, these are actually no longer being produced, or all of the instruction and even the content of the subject itself or the course is out of date or outdated. So that is obsolete. Why Jose Rizal method of instruction in the University of Santo Tomas that time is outdated or no longer being produced. Okay? So after finishing the 4th year of his medical course, Rizal decided to study in Spain. He could not longer endure the rampant bigotry, discrimination, and the hostility in the University of Santo Tomas. Okay? So that is the journey of Dr. Jose Rizal pertaining on the University of Santo Tomas. So, 4th year of his journey, he decided to travel, or he decided to study na in the other country, and that would be Spain. Okay? So now let's proceed on education in Europe. So basically Jose Rizal started now the travel with his own. So he traveled alone to Europe, Madrid, in May 1882. He continued his studies in medicine at the Universidad Central de Madrid. Degree of licentiate in medicine in 1884. So degree of philosophy and letters in 1885. So basically, he not only enrolled with the one course only, but also he also being enrolled with another degree, which is philosophy and letters, in the year of 1885. Okay? So, what would be the realization of Dr. Rizal'S pertaining on the country, which is Spain? So, it was a venue for realizing Rizal's dreams. So, he finished his studies in Madrid, and this, to him, was the realization of the bigger part of his ambition. His vision broadened to the point of awakening in him an understanding of human nature, sparking in him the realization that his people needed him. So basically pala, along the journey of Dr. Rizal in Spain and Europe, or basically particularly in the place of Madrid, meron na siyang, dyan na nagsisimula yung pagkamulat niya that he needed, or Filipinos needed him. So it must be, or it must have been the sentiment that prompted him to pursue during the reorganizational meeting of the Círculo Hispano-Filipino to be one of its activities. So the publication of the book, to which all the members would be contribute papers on the various aspect and condition of Philippines life. So basically in that time, Jose Rizal is being prompted that he will pursue already the organization meeting in Círculo Hispano-Filipino. And that Círculo Hispano-Filipino is one of the activities of Rizal that can give an access, or that can give various aspects pertaining on the condition of the Philippines life, or pertaining on the condition of our Filipino life in that time. So basically, nagsistart na siya ipamulat sa Filipino kung ano yung nangyayari talaga. So what would be the real happening in the country itself, which is Philippines. Okay? So let's proceed. So the proposal for the book was unanimously approved. Okay, so but afterwards, difficulties and objections were raised, and number of gentlemen stood up and refused to discuss the matter and further in 1884. So Rizal decided not to press the issue any longer, although the book was never written. The next year, Pedro Paterno published his Ninay, a novel subtitled Costumbres Filipinas, or Philippine Costume, thus partly fulfilling the original purpose of Rizal's plan. So, even though the proposal of the book is unanimously approved, Pedro Paterno also helped Rizal in that time, and he published his own novel, which is Ninay, which partly fulfilling the original purpose of Rizal plans. So, meaning to say, alliance is in there na. Nagkakaroon na ng ally si Dr. Rizal, and one of his allies is Pedro Paterno for his publication, or for his novel that being published, which is Ninay, that basically somehow or somewhat fulfill the original purpose of our national heroes plan, or Rizal's plan. Okay? Next. So, that was the realization pertaining on the country and the Spain, all of the strategies and methods pertaining on how to help the Filipino in that time is nangyayari na. Na-realize na ni Rizal yung ano ba talaga yung nangyayari sa country ko. What is happening in my country? What is help that being needed by my other Filipinos, co-Filipinos. So, that's the time he know already that Filipinos needed him. Okay? So, let's proceed to another very important novel that being published, which is called Noli Me Tangere. So, the idea of writing a novel grew on him. And later, he decided to write and work hard for Noli Me Tangere. He never told anyone about it until it was finished. Though some of his companions knew what he was doing. He wrote half of novel in Madrid, a quarter of in it, Paris, and the rest in Germany. So basically, yun na nga, basically along the journey of the school of, or in the education of Dr. Rizal, dyan na nangyayari yung mga importanteng detalye kung anong nangyari sa buhay niya at anong nangyari sa Philippines in that time. And one of the biggest part of Dr. Rizal is by publishing his book or novel which is entitled Noli Me Tangere. And that Noli Me Tangere ay hindi basta-basta natapos at hindi basta-basta na-publish. Some of the alliance or some of the companions of Dr. Rizal in that time know that he is writing about against the Spaniards, but some or 75% of the group did not know. Sekreto pa ito. Kasi bakit? Kung malaman, sigurado, ikukulong agad si Dr. Rizal. Because Noli Me Tangere is about against the Spaniards. Is about all the negativities that being implied by the Spaniards or by the country Spaniards to our country, which is the Philippines. Okay? Let's proceed. So, hindi pa natatapos dyan pertaining on the education of our national hero in Europe. So, University of Paris, France, he also enrolled in that university. University of Heidelberg in Germany also. Kasi bakit? As you can see, Noli Me Tangere has been written not only one country, but 3 countries. We have Madrid, quarter in Paris, and the rest in Germany. So that's why, so meaning to say, in the University of Paris, there is a half chapters that being written by Jose Rizal in that university, and in University of the Heidelberg would be the rest part of the chapters of Noli Me Tangere. So he earned a second doctorate or inducted as a member of the Berlin Ethnological Society and the Berlin Anthropological Society under the patronage of the famous pathologist, namely Rudolf Virchow. Okay? So that was basically the experience of Dr. Jose Rizal pertaining on his education in Europe. So none other that hindi nagtatapos yung pag-aaral niya, hindi nagtatapos yung degree niya kasi aside from being a medicine degree with a philosophy of letters, he also earned his second doctorate, and that would be inducted as a member of Berlin Ethnological Society and Berlin Anthropological Society under the patronage or under the professor or his professor named Rudolf Virchow. And I know that Rudolf Virchow is very known person in the history of yes, okay, not only as being a philosophy but also in the history of science. Okay, so that's it. That is the education pertaining in Europe. Next, let's proceed on the experience of Dr. Jose Rizal in the University of Heidelberg. Okay, 25-year-old Rizal completed in 1887 his eye specialization under the renowned Professor Otto Becker in Heidelberg. Left Heidelberg a poem, A las Flores del Heidelberg, both an evocation and a prayer for the welfare of his native land and the unification of common values between East and West. So, aside from he already completed his journey in medicine or his journey in specialization, which is in ophthalmologist, Jose Rizal also gave or left a poem in that place, and that poem is A las Flores del Heidelberg. Okay, so that is the experience of Jose Rizal pertaining to the University of Heidelberg. And not only with that, that is actually the content pertaining on the poem of Rizal titled A las Flores del Heidelberg. Okay, proceed. So the Rizal life in Europe. So Jose Rizal lived in Europe for 10 years. So he could converse in more than 10 different tongues. Excelled at martial arts, fencing, sculpture, painting, teaching, anthropology, and even journalism, among other things, is being done by our national hero. As I've said, not only with the academe, not only with art, but also with the extracurricular activities, Like for example, martial arts and fencing, lahat ng yan kayang gawin ni Dr. Rizal. During his European sojourn, he also began to write novels. Rizal finished his first book, yan na yun, Noli Me Tangere, while living in Wilhelmsfield with the Reverend Karl Ulmer. Okay, so that is the experience of Dr. Rizal in Europe. So can you imagine? 10 years. 10 years na ginugol niya, and in that 10 years, he finished his first book called Nole Me Tangere. And hindi pa natin alam if that book, if in that time, mapapublish na ang book niya. Kasi it's very crucial to publish a kind of this book that basically, the purpose is to enlighten the Filipinos about the wrongdoings of the Spaniards. Kaya it's very crucial to produce and it's very crucial to publish this one. So, mahabang-habang proseso pang nangyari about this one. Okay? Next. So that is actually basically the end of the journey of Dr. Rizal pertaining on his education. So as you can imagine, or as you can observe, that the journey lasts a year. Diba? A year's, hindi lang siya nagstay other country with 1 year, 2 years, but basically 10 years. And all of that journey may binibigay si Jose Rizal. At ano yon? And that would be his novels and his poems. And basically, in the journey in the education pertaining in Europe, he finishes his first ever book. And this first ever book the purpose of this will be can enlighten Filipinos that Spaniards is having a such called corrupting all of necessities of Filipinos. They also brainwashing other Filipinos. Okay? Can you imagine how bad this country was na sumakop sa country natin? So, kaya nakarealize si Jose Rizal that Filipinos needed me or Filipinos needed him. Okay? So that's it. I hope you understand our last topic for the journey of Dr. Jose Rizal. And this is actually all of the facts. It has been written in the history, and it has also been always included in the biography of our national hero, which is Dr. Jose Rizal. So if you have questions, clarifications, you can ask me on GC, or even you can ask me directly, personally, or you can send me a message in Facebook. Okay? So with that, thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone, and good luck and God bless with your exam. And please always look for our GC for my further instruction. Always remember, no permit, no exam. And again, another instruction, please be reminded that buy a test booklet, okay? Kasi test booklet is your answer sheet, okay? All of the teachers will be complying you to have a test booklet. So thank you so much again and have a nice day. Okay, bye-bye.